Social equity is not working. It's not working. The state has let us down. But the Office of Cannabis Management is going to do it different. And you're going to see your program put in place like it should have been.
My name is Laura Valerius. I am the Deputy Director for the Los Angeles County Office of Cannabis Management, not to be mistaken for LA City Department. And we are in the process of actually going towards commercial cannabis for unincorporated. And part of that is building a social equity program that we want to make sense and that it works. I'm also today joined with our Office of Cannabis Management staff. And because we cannot work in a bubble, and we should not be working in a bubble, we also have some county partners that have joined us this evening, representatives from Department of Economic Opportunity. We have the Anti-Racism Diversity Initiative in the House, as well as staff from Holly Mitchell's and other folks that are really helping to build this program. We'll go into breakout sessions that really will go talking more specifically about some questions. You guys have packets as well. And then we'll bring back a large group discussion after the breakout sessions to really dive into some of the recommendations and solutions we've identified in our breakout sessions. The takeaway that I get from you all is that social equity programs was meant as a promise, as an opportunity for those that have been systematically oppressed and targeted through cannabis criminalization and enforcement policies. And not surprisingly, you guys have lost faith in government to actually make it happen. Understand.
Triple B, be brief, be brilliant, and be done. We want everybody to get a chance to participate because what you give us is going to be extremely critical to putting together the best program that this state has seen. So let's get in there and bring your best, okay? I know so many of you in here, and I know you have your best in you. Bring it. This is the time to bring it. So find the room where you belong and let's get at it. Let's get some solutions.
So anyone who has a blue sticker, we're using here, yellow sticker in the midsection here, and green is the last.
These weren't really social equity applicants. So I think you want to vet it a little bit more.
Just to make it from the license all the way to the next step that you're about to go to, we need guidance. There's nobody to help us.
Availability of one-on-one counseling.
Nobody's responding. So the one-on-ones are much needed. The communication line should be open. There should be a 24-hour turnaround time. If I email my analyst, I shouldn't get an email response a week or two later. And I shouldn't have to constantly send that email numerous times.
There were resources for people to educate themselves beforehand. You know, videos, hey, if you're this step in the process, this is what we're requesting from you. Say if you're this step in the process, this is what we're requesting from you. Streamline all of the documents, you know, like make a resource available so that they can go and download all the documents and study the workflow. That way, when you're asking them for information, they know exactly where they are and when to get you what.
There should be ongoing workshops that specifically address and speak to social equity applicants.
And the startup cost is a lot. With real estate and cannabis, of course, it's not like your traditional retail store. My rent is probably 20 times for retail for cannabis than it was for a regular boutique.
Why is that?
I do not know.
There was a virtual CEO that was sitting with me that I can consult with before I go to dinner with that investor. I had a business partner who could be in my ear and advise me on each of the steps. Say, you need to do this next. Say this, and they know personally what I'm doing. Sometimes they're on the Zoom meeting with me. Sometimes they show up so they know, so that investor knows that I have someone that's on my side that has a skill set. That, to me, allows you to negotiate any of those positions. Programs where you're paired up with the business executive as its mentor. You need a certain amount of hours where the county is paying that person's rate of whatever that is, $300 an hour, and then you have access as a third party to your team. You don't have a team.
You know, capping out the amount of rent or the increases per year.
But I think there's also room for the government to have a partnership with the realtors, especially with a lot of these illicit stores that are out there. There's room for conversations to be had from the county to the property owner saying, listen, we can absolve you from any prosecution. Why don't you partner with, and then that be a part of the arrangement that's made as opposed to coming from the social equity.
They need to maybe streamline the process for licensure for social equity people, fast track them instead of taking a year to do that or 2 years because people still pay monthly rent of $12,000 plus.
Startup funding for people that are coming in that won the retail lottery, not retail lottery, but any type of lottery. If you're gonna give the licensing out to a social equity and we have to put our names out and we get picked, we should have a fund for us to kind of start off with for all social equity. No other people coming in trying to get a retail. It needs to be just for social equity.
Being able to put groups, people in cohorts based on where they're at, so that in the room and in these workshops and the questions and answers are the same. Then you start having a support group amongst yourselves, right? And then go into the one-on-one coaching. But if you keep that smaller group, whether it's in person or on Zoom or whatever, you're still connected with this cohort that you all are in a similar place. And I think that has been the challenge. Everybody's all over the place. If there's this concierge coach that's riding along, then we're figuring stuff out. Right on our own, and we're all trial and error. But if we had a professional that was in the middle or the center of these small groups, that we're all at the same place, that would make a big difference.
You start a bond, a thing, 30-year bond or whatever it is, get $1 trillion, and then invest in these businesses.
Great. Maybe that bond actually could be, one could be for real estate and one could be for cannabis. You know, one could be for the businesses, and then one could be to actually acquire the property, because this is a real estate game. We need to get a real understanding of what the valuation of our businesses are. Right. Yes. I don't want to see is somebody selling a business if you can't do that in real estate. You can't just do that in real estate. You can't just take the neighborhood's valuation because all of a sudden you're just gonna sell it for $1. Right. That's not how it goes. So
I agree.
What's the valuation first?
Helping us really evaluate what the business costs.
Set someone in the position to where they're an appraiser. Cannabis industry evaluator or appraiser that can be a neutral party, right? And give the proper valuation to these cannabis businesses.
It's important to prioritize, what is this round of funding for? So it's going to be a mixture of different types of financial services that you're going to have to offer people at different stages of the process. Fee waivers, fee deferrals, things like that, for people in the beginning, build out costs and go further along.
So it's not just about prioritizing, it's about sequencing. Based on
create a tier structure where it allows people, let's say it's somebody's first year in the program, you make it so that they can't sell until after a certain period of time, and in that first period, let's say in the first 2 years, you can have 51%, you can have 33%. If you want to give up control of your company to get more investment for your equity, cool, that's fine. But understand that you have to hold this asset for X amount of years before you either put another social equity applicant on it or completely sell to a generalized asset.
Guys, we're about to come into a big group and go over all of the recommendations.
All right, green team.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys. Let's get back to the bigger group. Great discussion, guys.
There should be one-on-one counseling once a week or once a month to kind of check the process or the progress of these applicants in addition to pro bono. They also believe that there should be a focus on those that were harmed or impacted rather than the zip code for those who qualify as social equity applicants. There should be better vetting, and there needs to be a true definition of what is considered who is considered a social equity applicant, and give them the first shot at these licenses. There should be training programs to kind of mimic the operations that will go on within retail shops, and also software training, particularly for the metric system. That should be a mandatory training requirement. So a suggestion was made for just startup funding for social equity applicants. We established that $10K is not nearly enough for this business.
Making sure that we do have a commission just to kind of provide some sort of marching orders for staff, making sure that there's that public accountability. There is a forum for folks to make sure that they're heard, and also just to kind of see where tax revenue is coming from and how much it is and where it's going.
Incentives for landlords. That was a big one. We talked a little bit about the extremely high rents for cannabis businesses. How do you incentivize landlords to charge the market rate?
In terms of access to capital, yes, it's very expensive. About $1 million we talked about, and then also potentially even just to get started would be like 500 minimum, 1,000, right? And so we talked about that as being kind of the threshold.
This truly warms my heart. Now, for real, because we were fighting with none of us in the room. And we certainly were fighting without a government agency in the room working in partnership with us. So I want to commend you, Laura, and the team and the County of Los Angeles for understanding what it takes to build a successful program. And actually, when we talk about generational wealth, how does it happen? There has to be a public and a private partnership. And so it starts here. So I ask us all to stay active, stay in touch, keep building. We got to make some sacrifices a lot of times, but please keep doing it. And let's let this be a spark of new beginning. Thank y'all.